Hey, Keeper Cubs, Mrs. Hoffer here today for today's English language knowledge lesson. And today we are going to be doing the unit review. Friends, the goal of today's lesson is that you'll know how to describe who a king and queen are and what they do. You'll understand how to describe being in a royal family and what objects are considered royal objects. And you'll be able to identify familiarity from the poems King Midas and the Golden Touch, the poem Old King Cole, and sing a song of sixpence. Keeble Cubs, tell me, here we see a cartoon of a king and queen. Can you tell me what we learned? Who are a king and queen? That's right. Good job, friends. We learned that a king and queen are special leaders from a royal family, and they lead or rule a country. Unlike other leaders, though, kings and queens aren't chosen. They're born into a royal family. Good jobs, Keeble Cubs. Cubs, remind me, what is the area of land called that a king or queen rule over? So the area of land that a king or queen take charge over? That's right, Keeble Cubs. Good job. This area of land is called a kingdom. And friends, is the king the male leader or the female leader? That's right. This is the king, and the king is the male leader. So then who's the queen? That's right, Keeble Cubs. Good job. The queen is the female leader. And Keeble Cubs, if on the screen this cartoon is a picture of a king and queen and their son and daughter, what do we call the son and daughter? What would the names of the king and queen's kids be? That's right. Good job, friends. The son right here would be called the prince, and the daughter of the king and queen would be called a princess. Keeble Cubs, if this was the oldest son of the family, do we remember what we call the oldest prince of the king and queen? The first son born to the king and queen? That's right, Keeble Cubs. This would be called the Crown Prince. Good job. And remember, the Crown Prince is the heir to the throne, which means he is next in line to be the king and rule over all their kingdom. Good job, friends. Keeble Cubs, on the screen, we see a picture of some of the royal family of today's English royal family. So from the country England that we heard about a lot in this unit. Here we see Queen Elizabeth and her husband Prince Philip, who we've seen earlier in this unit, her son Prince Charles and his wife. And this, Keeble Cubs, is Prince William. He is the Crown Prince of England. And we learned, remember, we just went over that a crown prince is next in line to be the king. And this is his wife, Princess Kate. Friends, in the unit, we learned lots of interesting features about royalty, the royal family, and what it's like to be in a royal family. Keeble Cubs, can you describe a royal family to me and some of the features that we learned of the royal family that could be described? How can you tell this family on the screen is royal, for example? That's right, friends. Good job. There are, in fact, a lot of different things that we could say to describe a royal family and the features of a royal family. For example, we've already discussed that the male and female leaders of the family are called the king and queen, and that their children are the prince and princesses, like we see on the screen here. But what is the place that they lived? What do we call the place that the royal family is standing in right here, Keeble Cubs? That's That's right. This is called a palace or a castle, like they are presumably standing in right here in the picture. What would the royal chair be called that the king or queen sits on? That's right. Good job, Cubs. We learned that this would be called a throne, a royal throne. And friends, what are some other features of royal life that we can describe? What are some other things that we learned? We learned that in a royal family, you basically get everything you want, from the fanciest foods to fancy gold and jewelry, like you see here in this photo. And what are some details of this photo that could tell you you're in a royal family? That are some details of being in a royal family just in general. That's right. We see that the women are wearing diamond and jewel encrusted crowns, which are something that we learned, details that we learned of the royal family, that they wear crowns. We also learned that the royal family get everything that they want, and they have access to the finest jewels and diamonds, like you see here. They also have access to the other finest things, like this valuable material that we see all over the room. Friends, can you tell me what this valuable material is accented in the room? That's right, it's gold. And that's another good indication that they're royal, because the fancy room that they're standing in has gold accents all over it, which is very expensive. Good job, Keeble Cubs. Here we see the Crown Prince of England playing with a soccer ball. If this is his soccer ball, as in he owns this soccer ball, would the ball be considered a royal item, or would it not be considered a royal item? That's right, friends. Good job. It would be considered a royal soccer ball, because, Keeble Cubs, anything that royalty owns is considered royal. Great work, friends. Keep it up. A picture of the royal family waving at their people of England onlooking from a balcony in their palace. And these we see the princess, the wife of the crown prince, holding her children, the prince and princess. Keeble Cubs, what are some things we learned in this unit that may be advantages or disadvantages for the prince and princess that we see here in the photo? What are some advantages and disadvantages that that these children, these royal children in these photos, might experience in their life? That's right, friends. Great work. Some of the advantages we learned are, because they are royal, they basically get whatever they want, whenever they want. From the yummiest foods to the fanciest clothing and jewels like diamonds and gold. If they request it, they pretty much can have it. But some major disadvantages are that because they are royal, especially the kids, they can't just act like normal kids. They are expected to act a certain way and meet up with the royal expectations and standards, like this little princess waving in this picture. Another disadvantage is that their marriages often are arranged. So that means they don't get to choose the person who he or she is going to marry. Good job, friends. Okay, Cubs, here we have some pictures from this unit's read alouds. Here we have a photo from King Midas. Here we have a photo from the nursery rhyme Old King Cole. And here is a photo from Sing a Song of Sixpence. Friends, can you describe to me how these poems and other poems that we have learned about, or stories, can relate to the subject of kings and queens? How are these poems related to kings and queens, Keeble Cubs? What do you think? There are many different things that we could use to answer this, Keeble Cubs. What do you think? That's right, friends. Good job. These stories and poems can relate to the subject of kings and queens because each of these stories are telling a tale of a king, queen, or both. King Midas, remember, friends, right here is a narrative story. So a narrative tale which is something that we learned that tells events in order of when they happened. While Old King Cole Old King Cole right here and Sing a Song of Sixpence are nursery rhymes about kings and queens. In these tales, we know that they're about kings and queens because they made sure to point out key features that let us know they are kings and queens. For example, the entire point of Old King Cole was his obsession with gold, which is something very valuable that normal people like you and I would not have access to. Old King Cole reminds you he's a king by calling him Old King Cole directly. We call him Old King Cole, so we know he's a king because he's actually called a king. Also in this poem, he gets everything he wants, and he is wearing a crown on his head, like we can see here, friends, which is a pretty good indication if he's called a king and he wears a crown that he is, in fact, a king, Keeble Cubs. Friends, in Sing a Song of Sixpence, here we know it's about kings and queens because, one, it calls them kings and queens, but two, they're doing royal activities such as sitting in this parlor, which we know is a fancy room in a palace, eating fresh made bread and honey, and you can see the king in the back counting all of his money, all of his gold, which again is something that somebody who wasn't royal would not have access to. Good job, Keeble Cubs. All right, friends, here we see a picture from one of the poems we read in this unit, King Midas and the Golden Touch. Can you tell me some key details you remember from the story, Keeble Cubs? For example, what did King Midas love more than anything in the world, at least at the beginning of the story? That's right, Cubs. We learned that he loved gold the most. And who is this little girl we see in this photo? That's right, Keeble Cubs. Good job. This is his daughter Marigold, who we learn at the beginning of the story is the only thing in the world he loves maybe as much as gold. Friends, is King Midas ever satisfied at the beginning of this story? No, that's right. We learn he is never satisfied because he never has enough gold. So what happens then? That's right. A glistening man appears and grants him the wish of the golden touch. Then everything he touches turns to gold, from the roses in his garden to the breakfast he's trying to eat. And like you see in this picture, his daughter Marigold turns into a golden statue. Friends, does King Midas end up being happy with his golden touch? No, that's right, Keeble Cubs. No, he is not happy at the end with his golden touch. He's not happy because he realizes that all the gold in the world isn't better than having his daughter Marigold, who he turned into a golden statue. Friends, what was the lesson King Midas learned then? What was the lesson King Midas learned from having the golden touch? That's right, Keeble Cubs. He learned that the love of his family is far more important than valuable items like gold. Good job, Cubs. See a picture now from the nursery rhyme we heard called Old King Cole. What can you tell me about Old King Cole, Keeble Cubs? What are some key details we can think of from the poem and in this picture? Well, Cubs, to begin, how do we know he's a king? That's right, Keeble Cubs. We know he's a king because we call him Old King Cole. He's wearing a crown, like you can see right here, and he gets everything he requests in the poem. And because he gets everything he requests, that's a pretty good sign that he is a royal family member. Friends, what are the 3 items that Old King Cole requests and gets? And we can see them here in this picture. What are the 3 items? That's right, friends. In the poem, he requests his pipe, the bowl, which is the large drinking glass or goblet that we see right here, and his fiddler's 3. So the 3 musicians you can see down there. And friends, what are some things that can tell us that Old King Cole was a very happy king? What do you think? Good job, Keebleka. That's right. The major things that we know make us know that he is described as a very happy king is that he was called very merry. And we learn that the word merry means to be happy. There's also a very big smile on his face in the picture, friends. And we learn that he loves music and the simple things in life, which make him a super happy person. Good job, Keeble Cubs. Lastly, this is a poem, so there are lots of rhyming words like coal and bowl. Friends, do you know why these words rhyme? What makes coal and bowl rhyme? That's right, Keeble Cubs. Good job. We know that these words rhyme because they have the same ending sounds. Fantastic work, Keeble Cubs. Okay, Keeble Cubs. This is the last thing we are going to review today. So, friends, here we see the 3 pictures from Sing a Song of Sixpence. One here is the king eating his special pie with the birds flying out of it. 2, the queen sitting in the parlor room and the king counting out his money in the background. And 3, the maid hanging out the laundered clothes to dry on the clothesline outside. Friends, I want you to tell me, what are the main differences in the experiences seen and described that the king and queen are having versus the experiences that the maid is having? How are they different, Keeble Cubs? That's right, friends. Good job. We see and we learn that the king and queen are doing lavish royal activities, like eating the celebratory pie, counting their generous amount of golden money, sitting in the fancy parlor room while casually enjoying some fresh, yummy bread and honey, while the maid has to do everyday normal activities, work, and chores, like going outside in the field to hang the laundry she just did to dry. Great work, Keeble Cubs.
All right, Keeble Cubs, that's all we have for today. Good job and keep up the great work.